You know, it's been some years since the last time I've had a proper project car. I think it's time to start another one. So these are the 10 things I consider before I start any project. So first, with or without a project, I try to make sure that I have AAA. For those of you who are not familiar with AAA, they are mainly a roadside service provider. You know, they could bring you emergency fuel, jump starts, even take you out of battery if you need one. And of course, the towing. What's great about AAA is the member is covered, not the car. So it doesn't matter if you have one car, 5 cars, or no car. If you're riding in one, and if ever it does break down, that car that you're riding in is covered. And you know, I've had to pay more than a year's worth of membership just to get towed back home. So ever since then, I've always tried to make sure that I have AAA. It really is a great service, especially if you drive the car daily. I think it's one of those things that I would rather have and not need than need and not have. It's good service. It's worth it. I think it's worth it. So next is I try to have a general direction of where I want the build to go. Like I try to choose a certain genre of build that I'm trying to do. And you know, there's so much build types out there. You have time attack, car, you have wall crawler, drag street racing, fighter, Kaido drifting, racer, Euro high style, performance OEM driving, mud bogging, you have your autocross circuit, overlanding, dub or dunk, crawling, slab, circuit racing, pro touring, art drag car, hot you have your sleeper build, your two games, time attack, drift. And you know, there's even a type of build out there that they collect all the rare OEM or aftermarket parts for the car. I know a lot of my Honda guys do that. Those are cool builds. So there is a ton of build types out there, and you kind of want to have to decide now on exactly what type of build you want to do. Try to keep your budget in mind. Try to be a little bit more grounded on selecting the build you want to do, so you don't buy or do things to the car that could work against you, ultimately wasting money and time. And if you are like me, I tend to run out on both. So, yeah. Like you don't want to put sound deadener all over your car, but you're trying to get your lap times down. Or you're putting on overlanding suspension on your truck, but you're trying to go rock crawling with it. I mean, I know there is some overlap there, but there comes a point that if you are trying to rock crawl, you can't use overlanding suspension. Now, those are for the people that don't have a project yet, that they're looking for a project, but I know a lot of us already have a car and want to do something to it. In that case, it's a little bit easier on what that car can be. If you have a SUV of some type, maybe you can do a audio build on it. So you could carry, you know, 25 15s in the back, I don't know. But whatever it is, there is a ton of build types out there that can fit that car or that truck. Even if it's your basic economy car, keeping it clean, like an OEM plus build, those are nice. Although, don't think that, you know, you're limited to those types of builds for those certain types of cars. I mean, you can drift a Tahoe if you want. You can off-road a 240 SX if you want. All it takes is time, money, knowledge, and if you have those, go for it. I wouldn't be mad at you. So I am in the second type of this project starter. I already have a car. I have this 2013 LS460L that I am going for a VIP style inspired build. I've always loved that look, that subtle yet imposing feel to that car. So I want to put the car on air suspension and do like your basic VIP stuff to it. It's my first time doing a VIP build, like a proper VIP build. So it'll be fun. So if you guys want, you can subscribe to the channel and follow me with this build. Okay, so we've decided on what genre we're going for, right? Now we have to put some research into that type of build. Like what the best platform is for what you're trying to do and if your budget can handle it. Because if you're trying to drift a Honda Prelude, that would be kind of hard. I mean, it's doable. But again, it takes more money, more time, more knowledge that some of us just don't have. And if you've decided on that platform, try to see if there's any issues with that car. Like, do the transmissions, you know, go out often, or do the engines tend to smoke because of ringland failures? Or, if the ad says it comes with a small block 350, but later you'll find out that it's a 302. Or do they tend to start fires just because of how they're made? When you go take a look at the car, the areas of concern, like where to look. If they leak all the time, so you go get under there and say, oh, okay, it's leaking, maybe you can talk the price down. I don't know. But knowing what you're looking at is very beneficial before you even try to get that car back home. And in my experience, I tend to avoid like the first year or two of that generation of cars. I mean, don't get me wrong. If it's a 91 NSX or like a 93 FD, it's not like I'm not gonna get it because they're first years. Of course I'm gonna get those, but what I'm talking about usually applies to like post 2000 cars. Like the 2004 TSX and TLs, those have a lot of like electrical issues. Because usually when manufacturers come out with cars, it usually takes them a couple years to iron out all the defects with that car. But then again, there are some manufacturers that they cannot fix the issues plaguing that specific model. Now, again, if you already have a car, put some time and research into that car and see if there's any issues that tend to pop up. Like this LS, I found out that the coolant tend to leak out the intake valley, and I think it is happening to the car. So I'll have to take care of that some other time. And that I found out that if you use the key fob and unlock the car and not open the door, and you let it lock itself back, that a module somewhere in there stays awake and drains the battery. I've had to replace the battery on that thing twice already because of that, before I found out that that is a thing. So put some research into the best type of platform for that type of build you're trying to do. Put some research into that specific platform and see all the things, the good things, the bad things for it. It'll just help you later on down the road once you start your project. All right, so next is to know your limit, like things that you cannot change. And this goes hand in hand with the type of project that you're trying to do. Like, is this your daily driver? Is this a weekender, or is this a trailered car? Do you share this with somebody, or is it your only car? Do you have another car that you can drive just in case you take down the car for longer than anticipated? Is this a lease? Because some people out there modify cars on lease. I would know. So specifically for this project, I do not drive the car every day, but my wife does. My wife drives the kids to school. With that being said, the car is a daily driver, and the maximum amount of downtime that I plan to do was just the weekend. So whatever I do to the car, it needs to be ready by Monday. It needs to be safe to drive, and I am fully anticipating for scratches and dents to appear. Next is to consider your skill level, the amount of knowledge and tools that you have. Are you a beginner that's trying to learn, or are you already a veteran of knuckle busting? For me, I am fortunate enough to be a mechanic as my day job. I do have some tools and I know enough to get by. What I do not know, the internet has a wealth of knowledge. I frequent, Facebook groups. I frequent forums, and I try to talk to people that's knowledgeable about that sort of thing. What I do not like about is the people that gatekeep. I mean, I understand that you have to put your own research into it, but there are just some people that, whatever, man, let's not even. Now, if you are a beginner and you have come across gatekeepers in the automotive industry, do not let that dissuade you from trying to learn how to work on cars. I can tell you right now that a simple set of tools can get you to the majority of the things you want to do to the car. I mean, it might take you longer, but you'll get there. Just be sure to do it the correct way first before you do it the fast way. And I find it that having the correct tool is better than having the best tool. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? That makes sense. I don't know. Just, you'll find out. Okay, so next is to think about the space that you're working in. Like, can you only work in the driveway? Or do you have to work on the street? Do you have a garage? Do you have HOA, and do they let you like work on cars out in the open? Now, if you absolutely don't have any space to work on, maybe you should budget in one of those shops that you could pay hourly to work in. They have like the lifts and the tools in there, so that could be a thing. And if you can't do any of that, you might have to budget into actually paying a shop to do any of the work for you. And don't forget that you can always build or rebuild a motor or like a 3-piece wheel on your kitchen table. I wouldn't be mad at you. Your wife or your girlfriend might, but none of us will. We won't judge you. Now, as for me, I am fortunate enough to have this 2-car garage and a driveway outside that I can work in. But don't get it twisted. I have worked on the street. I have worked on my dad's driveway. I even worked on like a friend's yard before, taking apart 2 cars to put it into a 3rd car. It's crazy. Always remember, there's a will, there's a way. As you guys have heard me say a million times, budget, budget, budget. I'm not just talking about money budget now. I'm talking about your budget for your time, your motivation, your mental capacity, your willingness to do any of this. Like guys, if you are halfway into any of this, it'll show on your work. Ask me how I know. So make sure you don't forget that those are important things to budget for. Okay, so you finally got your car, or you've been at it and done your due diligence. Now, this next part usually applies to used cars. If you got your project car brand new, okay, pimp, all right, congratulations, but this part might not apply to you. But you could always stick around for the rest because I love you. All right, so the first thing I usually do when I get any car is to look into maintenance, like what's been done, what hasn't been done. If I'm not sure if it's been done, I usually try to do it. Also, if you're a beginner, this is a great time to start learning on working on cars, like, you know, the basics, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. It also gives you time to really inspect the car. You know, all your suspension components, pulleys, belts, all your fluids, ball joints, exhaust, I don't know, any maintenance. Like you could really get into it during the maintenance. Oh, guys, don't forget to replace your cabin filter. I am really bad at replacing those, and I've had driven my previous cars before for years before I replaced the cabin filter, and when I did, it was disgusting. Blech. Actually, I can tell you right now, I haven't replaced the cabin filter on the LS since I got it. Ugh, brother, ugh. Ugh. Okay, so next I usually give the interior and exterior a good clean. It usually gives me the chance to see if there is dents or scratches that needs to be taken care of at a later date. Also, this is a time to see if you're into detailing. Cleaning the interior, the exterior, and doing maintenance on the car, it just gets all the old owner funk out. So who wouldn't want to do that? Okay, so finally, number 10 is I write a list of things that I want to do and needs to be done to the car, no matter how big or small it is. It could be a trim out of place. I write it down. Because for me, if I keep crossing out those things on the list, it shows progress and it sort of keeps my motivation up. Now, I could keep adding onto the list and that list might never end, but at least I know that when I write it down, I don't stray too far from the build that I'm trying to do. All right, so here is a bonus tip for you guys. Whew, Jesus fuck. I usually find a service manual and a electrical service manual for the car. It is definitely a lifesaver at times. Actually, I have some over here. So here I have when I had the RL, I have a leftover electrical service manual for it. I didn't need this a ton when I had the RL because that was a good car to have. Didn't have a lot of electrical issues. But I also got, this is for the Lincoln Continental they used to have. I got a vacuum system diagnosis guide, wiring diagram, operation description for the convertible top operation, rear windows, exterior deck lid control. It's just, you know, how it works and some electrical stuff in there. Full service manual for a 67 Continental, heater and ventilation system. So that car was a 67 and it was old. The wiring harness on that thing was 50 years old. So anyway, ETM service manuals, good thing to have if you can get it. All right guys, those are the 10 things I consider before I start any project. Hope you guys gained some value in this video. Let me know in the comments below what you guys do before you start a project. Do you jump head first or do you plan everything out? Let me know if you have a daily driver for your daily driver for your daily driver. I know a lot of you guys are guilty of that. Let me know, how many projects do you have? And do you need another one? Anyway, I'll see you guys next time here within the Bay. I love you. Bye. Peace. This.